You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Wood.
And I'm Jennifer Connor.
From Equestrian Businesswomen, and you're listening to Equestrian B2B, the podcast that brings together industry leaders, entrepreneurs, and equestrians for conversations about how they build and sustain a successful business.
On today's show, we speak with Catherine Kennedy, who parlayed her experience working as a television news producer and working internationally, along with decades of running a hunter-jumper competition barn, to starting a new business that offers more flexibility.
Catherine Kennedy has more than 20 years' experience as an entrepreneur and owner of Moreland Farm, a hunter-jumper barn based in Boston, Massachusetts, and Wellington, Florida. Catherine runs her family business while working as a trainer, rider, and pony mom to her 3 children.
Now she is taking that experience, along with years spent as a TV news producer in Boston and her work in the international travel industry while living in Europe, to create Elevate Equine LLC, a company providing the highest quality wellness and lifestyle services for the discerning equestrian.
Hey, Equestrian B2B podcast listeners, ready to level up your biz?
Ride Every Stride specializes in tailoring brand identities for equestrian businesses, from logo development, essential stable accessories, and custom product branding to exclusive awards, VIP event must-haves, and chic apparel. They've got you covered.
Visit rideeverystride.com. Use code B2B15, that's B2B15, at checkout for an exclusive 15% discount.
Elevate your brand with Ride Every Stride, supporting women in business and equestrian excellence.
Hi, Catherine. Thanks so much for joining us today. We look forward to speaking with you.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
So we were talking about, Jen and I, we were talking about, looking at your bio and everything, and there was just so many things to talk about. So I think we're going to cover the whole gamut, maybe, if we have time.
Great. Let's do it.
Can you talk about, the current businesses that you have now and the various parts of it?
So I currently have 2 businesses. One is longstanding, which is I own with my husband a hunter-jumper farm outside of Boston. We have about 35 horses. We show on the A circuit. We spend our summers here in the Northeast. We go to Wellington for the winter. We have clients who show in everything from the special hunters all the way up to the high junior and amateur jumpers. I have 3 children. All of them ride and compete at the highest levels for their age groups. Although shockingly, my oldest now competes as an amateur, which is
oh boy,
just a little startling for me to see that on the up on the screen in Wellington last winter. And our business has sort of evolved over the years to suit the needs of my family and what my kids are doing. And so for many years, we had one of the busiest riding schools, I would say, in the Boston area. We ran summer camps. We were traveling to shows all the time. My husband and I were importing horses primarily from Ireland to sell and train. Over the years, we've sort of cut back on the riding school. We've cut back on the summer camps because we're really on the show circuit all the time.
Okay.
So that, and my husband does most of the coaching. When we had the riding school, I did most of the teaching of the young students. I ran the summer camps and did all of that. And I also do all of the administrative and financial oversight for the business.
Yeah.
As my children got older and got further into the sport, and I wanted to be able to travel with them, in the last year, I decided I wanted to take a little bit of a step back from the teaching. We closed the riding school. We stopped running the camps, and I do love the business of running a business and starting a new business. So I decided it was time for me to start a new business that would allow me to travel with my kids. My daughter is actually now going to college at the University of Dublin. So I want to be able to go
Oh,
spend time
cool.
with her.
Yeah.
I actually just got back from a month in Europe, moving her. And we went to the Dublin Horse Show. I
Mm.
had to do some work in
Oh,
Amsterdam, and
fun.
then I moved her into college. So I decided I was going to start a wellness and lifestyle business, which really encapsulates the things that I love and have been doing for both myself as like a pony mom for the last 20 years, and for my clients as a trainer and a farm owner for the last 20 years. So that incorporates, it started out with me buying a MagnaWave machine to work on my own string of competition horses. It evolved into me getting asked by my professional friends and peers to come work on their horses. I then said, why not add a lifestyle element to this? Because I've been styling my friends and my clients and doing personal shopping for my friends and a lot of sort of the mothers of my clients for years. I've been planning trips to Europe for people to shop for horses for years, just as part of my work.
Yeah.
And I've been coaching young professionals on how to set up the administration for their growing businesses. I really believe in supporting young professionals and particularly young women who are trying to make it in the sport. So I took those things that were the things that I'm sort of best at and that I really love to do. And I joke a lot that I'm going to be like, I want to be the Goop. I'm going to be the Gwyneth Paltrow, but not crazy of the horse world. I will, I don't think I'll be promoting, bizarre activities with jade eggs, but I want to sort of be a go-to resource for people who need, how do I get to Europe with my trainer to go see horses? Where should I go? How should I dress for this event at the Hamptons? How I want to start an import business, and we've been importing horses for 20 years. How do I set that up? What does that look like? What's the most efficient billing system? And then what's helped this business, I think, the most get started because it was an immediate cash flow, which that's business, is the MagnaWave, doing the MagnaWave, because I immediately had a massive customer base. Like I will literally be spending that because I've been gone for so long. Starting tomorrow, I will be like MagnaWaving horses nonstop for like the next 7 days. And that cash flow allows me to then be selective about the clients that I work with, because not everyone can come to me and say, I want to spend 3 weeks in Europe shopping for a junior hunter for my daughter.
For sure.
Most people can need MagnaWave for their horses. So it's a great balance of different elements of the business that can support each other.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you're looking into ways to change and adapt your business to what your life is now. I feel like so many people feel like they're stuck in what they're doing, especially small business owners, and don't feel like they can change what they're doing to fit, if they have small kids or if they're empty nesters or if they've got parents to take care of. Like, I love that, and I think the more we see people doing that and not being stuck in something that doesn't work for them, the better. And that's cool to hear how you've been able to do that.
I mean, I feel very fortunate. Like, not everyone has that luxury. I am very fortunate that my husband and I built a business that is a great business that has allowed me to sort of pursue these other interests. And I do not take for granted that I'm lucky. That being said, I am willing to work really hard. And I think that goes with the equestrian industry in general. We're all hard workers. But yeah, my professional life has evolved over the last, 27 years to accommodate the needs of my personal and family life. I have a 7-year-old who shows in the Small Pony Hunters, and I have a 17-year-old son who's in Old Salem right now, getting ready for Maclay regionals. And I want to be in all of those places with them. And this type of a business allows me to meet my clients where they are, work on their horses where they are, and also be with my kids.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And I love that too, because like you said, you've done a lot of the hard work, right? I mean, you had a riding school, you put in your time doing all of that. It's not like you just woke up one day and this is what you did out of nowhere. Like you put your time in a foundation, you laid a foundation to be able to do this in the future. It makes me think of like my mother-in-law. It's funny. She was a teacher. She took some time off to get my husband and his sister like into high school, and then she went back to teaching, and she was teaching for another 20-30 years. But all of her coworkers looked at her like, oh my God, you get to travel and you get to do this and you get to do that. And she's like, yeah, but like I set it up, like I paid my dues, I did what I had to, and now I'm able to do that. Even though I'm a little bit older, now I'm able to do that in my life. And so I think that's like great that you were able to do that. And you did, you worked really hard. You still work hard, but like you laid that foundation.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm able now to sort of cater it to, yeah, I mean, there was a time when I couldn't. I was teaching 15 lessons a day, and dealing with the town board of health to like set up my summer camps, and and my husband was on the road all the time with the clients showing so that I could stay home and do those things. And I was simultaneously raising two small children who wanted to play every sport ever invented that involved the ball. And when you're in the thick of it, you're doing it and you're loving it. And I was also like, my husband had like a really bad riding injury. And so about 3 years into buying our farm, I also had to take over as the rider, which I had never anticipated that job. I mean, I should have been fired, but I'm willing to fall off. And that apparently is one of the primary job requirements. I fear nothing and I take orders well. So I mean, now, thankfully, we have, my own kids, frankly, started riding all of the horses, and I was able to take a little bit of a step back from that. My son was our pony jockey for years, which was also great because I said, my knees can't take riding these ponies anymore. Now my son is 6'3", and I think I'm going to get bumped back into being a pony jockey gig. But it's been, like you said, I sort of, quote unquote, paid my dues in the sense that I did all of the parts of it. But I think that's what makes me good at, what makes me so capable of sort of this new business is that I'm the customer. I've been the pony mom standing at the ring, panicked, looking at my daughter's trainer at Maclay finals going, is she ready? But I can't say anything. Like, here's a bottle of water, honey. Like, I got a granola bar if you need it. And so I know what it feels like to be the mom. And I also know what it feels like to be the trainer, standing at the end gate with a client, trotting in for her first trip in, at the Washington International Horse Show or at pony finals. So, I mean, I remember walking to the ring with my two oldest kids when they did their first pony finals. My husband and I were like, okay, let's just stop at the porta potties and throw up because this is, but it's so having experienced this sport from all sides, I think allows me to really understand what my clients need.
Yeah. And I think, using Jen's example as well, so much of a long-term career is planning and then being able to pivot and adapt to possibly something new. I mean, there are people who do the same exact job for 30 or 40 years, and that's cool too. But I feel more and more, especially after COVID, when people just decided they didn't want to do what they've been doing for a long time and wanted to try something different. And so that's I love seeing examples of that.
I think COVID was a real turning point for a lot of people. It gave a lot of people an opportunity to reassess where they were and what they wanted.
Right.
Yeah, and to see that maybe you don't have to work for a big corporation, that there's ways to kind of put a bunch of your passions and different kinds of hustles together to be able to make a career that you can kind of live a lifestyle rather than, it be a job and not part of who you are.
Yeah, I love the way you put that. I love it is living a lifestyle. And again, I am fortunate. Like, I feel very fortunate that I am able to create a lifestyle that I love, and I can live it, and I can be there for my kids. Like, I never take that for granted. But yes, I, at this stage of my life, could not go back to working for someone else. I did that when I was younger. But I have been running my own businesses now for so long that this is what I know.
Yeah. Totally
And
understand that.
Yeah. With this the wellness and lifestyle part of your business, has it been easier or harder than you anticipated?
I don't think I had any anticipation. I had no expectation of whether it would be easy or hard.
Okay.
I thought it would be fun. I thought it would be an adventure. I thought it would give me opportunities to me. I am an extrovert. I love to travel. I love to work with different people, and I learn something from everyone I meet. This just seemed like an amazing opportunity for me. It didn't, did I think I was going to become a millionaire out of it in the first 6 months? Absolutely not. I knew I would be investing. And again, like, I get back to, like, that's where the MagnaWave piece of it was extremely important, because I knew that would, my knowledge and experience with that and my customer base with that would help subsidize while I grew because this is a fairly new company, while I grew the other parts of the business, which are a little more, elite. So I had to make it work in a way that would make it profitable, but I didn't anticipate overnight success. But I'm always going to enjoy the process.
I think that's so interesting, because I think a lot of people, when they're going into a business, they think about like investing all this money in, but they don't think like, what is something that I can do to get a cash flow and going now that'll help me sustain that, and help me grow the business in the future. Like, I mean, I have a full-time job and I'm doing some side hustle type of things, and, we'll see where they evolve to, but like that, idea to like the MagnaWave, because you knew that was going to be like an immediate cash flow, and that sense that was going to help you further the business. I think that's like such a great point.
Yeah, and I have Moreland Farm. I mean, I already have
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And the beauty of it was I had an immediate customer base for MagnaWave clients within my barn. So it, it made sense to me to start with that and then grow the other pieces over time.
Yeah. Well, and it's nice too that you didn't have to like take away from Moreland Farm or, take resources from that, financial resources from that to go on this venture. You could do it this way.
Right. Exactly.
That's really smart. To me, that's really smart.
And I, I mean, and all of my own horses are now feeling their best because they're getting MagnaWaved regularly. Even like I do a lot of fox hunting, and my fox hunter is getting older and his conformation isn't the best, and he really benefits from it. And it's like this, it's for me, it's a win-win. I don't have to pay someone else to do it. I can do it myself.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you feel like there's a lot of crossover in clientele between the farm business and your new business?
Yes. I've had several clients say, "Oh, you're doing styling now. Can can you come over and help me redo my wardrobe? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. We'll get started. Just let me know when you want to start. They're like, we've been waiting.
Yeah, like it's kind of like horizontal integration, right? Where, you're still in the same industry and you can still contact the same kind of audience and clients. At least you're not like completely going out of the ballpark.
No.
And I think that would be a lot more difficult.
I've had people say, I just need something for a special event. But I've had other people say, I would like you to create, I don't like the way I look, especially women, women my age who are like, I'm at a different stage in my life. The clothes that I wore in my 30s aren't what I want to wear now. I would like a new professional wardrobe, a new riding wardrobe, and a new sort of casual everyday wardrobe that I feel good about. And I'll say, okay, well, let's go through your closet and take what you have that you like, and we'll build on that. We don't have to like throw everything out and start all over again. And I just loved it. Like I for whatever reason, that it makes me happy because it makes clothes make people feel good. Clothes make people feel good about themselves. And if I can make a horse feel good with MagnaWave and make a person feel good looking fantastic in a new outfit, and then if we can hop on a trip and go to, Holland and shop for horses, we're really winning.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds amazing.
We've hit a grand slam.
So what does like a typical personal styling or a shopping part of your business, what does that look like? Like a typical client and a day? And
so with all of the things that I do, it is so specific to the client. There's no, because everyone needs something different. Everyone has a different budget. Everyone is at a different, again, if it's someone who's looking for like a new riding wardrobe, well, that means that we're probably spending a day. I mean, I find some of the best shopping that you can do for riding gear is at some of the bigger horse shows, because all of the labels are there. And like, a pair of Equeline breeches may look fabulous on one body type and horrendous on another.
Yeah,
There's
I'm
not
sure.
just because one style is in fashion does not mean that it works for everyone. So you have to, so it's really time, like trying things on and finding what works. And so it really, there's no, like, I can't say that there's one just sort of formula that I follow for every person.
Okay.
And every woman comes to it from a different place. Like maybe they've just had a baby and they, aren't sure about their body. It's a lot of it is, I have to say, a lot of it's therapy. I'm not a licensed therapist, to be clear. Let me just say that right now. I'm not a licensed therapist. But there, a lot of it is like, let's make you feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
And so you do that all in person, then there's not like any virtual service?
Oh, I can do initial meetings by Zoom or by Google Meet, but ultimately, and I'll do, like, I have a client who we're revamping her whole wardrobe. I was in Manchester, we were showing in Vermont, and I just found this amazing boutique next to a restaurant where I was eating dinner with some friends. And I was like, excuse me, guys, I need to go over to this boutique, because they had clothes that I knew would look fabulous for this client. And I was in there taking pictures and texting them to the client. And I said, okay, we're going to have to, like, this is what you've been looking for. And the price point was perfect. It was like, it was Saks Fifth Avenue style without the Saks Fifth Avenue price tag. And so like, I'm always seeking out, I'm never not looking for items that I think will work with the people that I work with.
Okay. Cool.
With all of the different types of things that you do within the Elevate Equestrian side of the business. How long did it take you to kind of organize it and understand, like, how much time do I think it's going to take me to do this type of job? How do I charge for it? Like, how did you kind of go through that process and make sure that, you're covering your expenses in everything that you're doing? So I imagine, there's traveling for it and,
Mhm.
whether it's upfront or build, making sure that it's actually something that's going to be profitable for you.
I gave a lot of thought to how, and we've touched on this already, how I could start initial high impact streams of revenue to support the other pieces. Um, the pieces of it, like the personal shopping, there's no output there. There's no financial output for me. So it was just a matter of me coming up with, okay, how am I going to charge for these services?
Like just your
And that was
time
fairly
and
simple. Yeah. So everything that I do outside of MagnaWave, whether it's travel or admin setup or shopping, is based on either an hourly rate, if it's what I would call a smaller job. You want me to plan a trip for you? I'll plan a trip. I anticipate it taking this number of hours. This will be my hourly rate for this number of hours. If I think it is actually going to go beyond that, I will let you know so that you can decide if that's okay with you. And it's quite simple. If it's someone who's saying to me, okay, I want you to come to my farm in Europe and I want you to help me bring in customers and I want you to help set up, that is what I would then call a package. And then I'm going to write a contract and come up with sort of a fee for me to create essentially a business structure for how I'm going to build that business for them. And so then it's up to me to determine how much time is this going to take? How much of my time is this individual going to need? Am I going to be traveling to Europe with people? And some of that is guesswork,
Right.
because again, you don't really know. And so you, to a certain extent, you have to leave it a little open-ended to allow for adjustment as things evolve. But for those package deals, I create a flat rate. It's not an hourly rate because there's no way for me to know how many hours it can be. And I'm not going to, I don't want to undersell.
Yeah.
So I'm either doing things, I'm doing smaller jobs hourly, a larger job as a package flat rate. And it's, and it's all in a contract and it's all, established before we begin working together.
Yeah, I think that's so important for people who are starting businesses with maybe kind of a not nebulous, but a plan where you're not selling a specific product that costs you, like you had to buy $100
I'm
in
selling
inventory and
I'm selling me.
Exactly. You and your
I'm selling
experience.
me.
Yeah.
I'm selling me and my experience and
how do you price that?
And how much fun you're going to have with me while you're having this experience. I will entertain you in addition to improving the quality of your life.
Yeah, I think that's
so it's different than like, oh, I'm selling supplements,
Right.
and like, here's the stock I have that and here's what how much I need to sell each month. Like when you're selling your sort of yourself and your skill set. And again, when I already have an existing business, I have a lot more flexibility, and again, that's what made it possible for me to do this. And especially at this stage in my life where I have one child going off to college, my son is 17, he's going to be flying the nest soon as well. I'm able to sort of play around with these other things.
right.
And when I say play, I take it very seriously, but it's, but it has been, I will say play in the sense that it's been really fun.
Yeah.
to develop it and grow it and meet people who are interested in what I'm doing.
Right. But I think that's important for business owners to plan for and to know how much their time is worth and how much their experience is worth and price themselves accordingly. I think so many people undersell themselves or take on a lot of jobs just because, if they're not in the position like you and don't have the flexibility and they need to take everything they can, but then are you overextending yourself for not enough money? I think that really takes a lot of pre-planning to be able to say, these are my true expenses and what I need to bring in.
And I have the luxury of having, really extensive experience in, I worked in the travel industry when I lived in Europe. I worked as a TV news producer. I can research things and identify things and plan things probably faster than someone who hasn't had to put on a live newscast 5 days a week at 3:00 in the morning. And I have
That's a very specific skill.
It is.
Yeah.
But transferable, I think.
Without turning into a total monster.
Yeah.
I know you talked about like you take care of all the finances for your farm and everything, but that's also kind of like a service that you offer to people, is kind of getting them organized in that. So like what kind of systems do you recommend to people? Do you have programs? Do you come in and help them implement software, or do you kind of help them get organized? What does that kind of look like?
So I advocate for the most simple system possible, because people who run farms, whether it's a show barn, whether it's a riding school, they're lunging horses, they're teaching lessons, they're traveling to shows. They don't have time for complex administrative systems. I recommend getting the best cell phone you can, using Google Docs, because you can share that Google Doc with every member of your staff. So everyone can access it and see what's going on. You put your schedule into Google Docs, you put your billable items for each client into Google Docs, and all your staff have to do is log into the doc for whomever, type in what they did that day, and everyone can see it and has access to it. Beyond that, QuickBooks for billing. I will be on the cross ties waiting for a horse to dry, log into QuickBooks on my cell phone and fire off invoices for a horse show that I just took clients to.
Yeah.
While I'm standing in the grooming stall waiting for the horse to dry. Like, I need to be able to do everything that I do administratively from anywhere. I'm not at my desk. Like, I was gone for the last month. I came home to like a mountain of mail on my desk. But you know what? None of it mattered, because all of my bills are set up on electronic bill pay. So it takes that bit of time to set up the infrastructure. And I can't recommend enough hiring a good bookkeeper.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a bookkeeper. I'm not an accountant. Who's going to just keep an eye on things and make sure that when tax season comes, everything's in order. That will save you money in the long term. But digitize everything you can, but there's very simple systems that allow you to digitize. Once you put in that time at the start, you set up your bills on automatic bill pay, you have your online banking, you have your QuickBooks app, and you have your Google Docs. Like, anytime I buy or sell a horse, I just immediately plug it into my Google Doc. And then when my accountant's like, what was this deposit for X amount? And I was like, and I open up I sold a horse. Here's the horse's name, add it to the list.
Yeah.
And so I think people think it's more complicated than it is. And maybe I'm oversimplifying it because for me, I've been doing it for so long. It is simple to me, but but I I think people are overwhelmed by it. And when I
Right.
show people, look, this is all you have to do. And then once a month, have a good bookkeeper just clean everything up so that come tax time, you can send this off to your accountant and it's done. It takes that initial investment of time to set up those online, bill paying systems and to sort of input all the information for your clients into QuickBooks. But once it's done, it's done.
Yeah.
And I have, again, in Google Docs, I have every sales and lease contract. I've been at a show. I've been at a show where I've written a lease contract. My husband would say, "Oh, we just got this horse leased. I need a contract right away. They're picking it up this evening." I can type up a lease contract. I can be sending emails I can get to the office to do entries, and I can oversee a pre-purchase at the same time. And that isn't because I'm a rocket scientist. It's just because I have the systems all plugged into my phone already.
Right. Yeah, I think I agree with what you said in people feeling overwhelmed maybe by the startup investment of time it takes to get these, but then the benefit of it is overwhelming in what you get back. I mean, it's not overwhelming, but it's incredible, how much time you can get back from it. And that's what's really made, and I don't know that the industry has adapted to all of the new technology yet, but
Yeah.
I mean, but it's not even like, and I know like there's all these apps I get approached a lot. Like, oh, I've got this I've started this app for your barn where you can keep track of this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, well, like, honestly, my vet keeps track of if I need a vaccination record, and okay, so let me say this. I have great relationships with the vendors that I work with. Like
Mhm.
I send birthday cards to my vet's office worker. Like if I need something in a pinch, they get it done because they know I appreciate them. If I need help from Old Salem because we forgot to book, 2 extra stalls for those sales horses that just came in. If I have a good rapport with, they're going to help me out and get that done. So like all of those little things, you're always laying the groundwork, whether it's administratively or interpersonally, to make your life run as smoothly as possible,
Mhm.
But I don't need some fancy barn management app. Not that I have anything against those, and they may work really well for other people, but to me, that's an extra unnecessary step. When I can use some really simple technology on my phone that and it does take a little bit of time to set it up, but once it's set up, it will serve you.
So, Catherine, I thought it was super interesting. You mentioned it a little bit before, but about you being a TV producer. So can you kind of talk about what you did with that, and like how that kind of shaped you in business, if it did or didn't?
So my dream was to be a journalist. And I got to achieve that dream, which was amazing. I absolutely loved it. I worked as a TV news producer for NECN, which is sort of a local 24-hour cable station in New England. I produced a 9 a.m. news show. So that meant going into work at 3:00 in the morning. And, I did touch on it a little bit, but I will say what that job, first of all, the people I worked with were so smart and they made me be smarter. You had to be fast and smart and quick or you got left in the dust. But I learned how to do everything at speed because the time pressure was so intense. And we were all piled in this newsroom on top of each other. And you could not be offended. You could not get offended if a director yelled at you because you did not have your script ready on time. Like you had to have thick skin. but I learned how to write. I learned how to communicate. I learned how to work with people that I didn't necessarily love, but I could find they had great qualities as in the role that they played in the newsroom that I needed to survive. And I learned how to research real fast and get factual information. The other thing I'll say that has applied now, which hadn't even occurred to me back then, is that as a business owner in 2024, you have to be a content creator.
Yep.
I know what it means to cut B-roll for my social media account. I know what it means to do a voiceover. I know what looks good on camera because I spent years, and I'll even say I have a social media team because I don't really know how to use Instagram to that, level, but I'll say, this is the B-roll I want you to use. This is the look I'm going for. And sometimes I think that Gabe, who's fabulous, who does the reels and a lot of the posts, he's probably thinking, who is she to tell me how to do my job? But I write all of the captions for all of the posts because I know that my writing skills are good, and it's and I want it to be in my voice,
in your voice, yeah, and keep it authentic.
It needs to be my voice because I am selling myself, and so it needs to be me. Like my Gabe jokes that it's organic. Oh, that was an organic post you put up, Catherine. And I'm like, but that's who I am. Call it organic, but that's me. And so that is unique to running a business now. And my experience in television gave me the skills to not to be an Instagram influencer. That's a totally different thing. But to create, to like when we do interviews and I'm talking about the services I provide, I know what lighting is good. I know where I want it to be shot. I know what I want to say. And those are things that I learned working in the TV news business that had never even occurred to me at the time as being a necessary thing. But we live in a world now where social media kind of sets the tone for a lot of our businesses. I mean, just even seeing what show barns do now, the level of professionalism of their posts. I mean, they have professional videographers following them around everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not someone taking a video on an iPhone.
Yeah, it's so different.
So, and there's a lot of pressure to constantly be putting material up, constantly.
Mm-hmm.
So you really have to be comfortable with that. And I am.
That's cool.
It's exhausting sometimes. It's
It
exhausting.
sure
And I
is.
feel like it takes away from time that could be spent maybe doing things that, more directly generated income. But I think it's a necessity.
Yeah. At this point in time, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for now.
And then what kind of influence did living internationally have on you?
Well, it determined who I married, for starters. So that's a big one. So I went to college. I did my last year of college in Ireland. And then I ended up staying in Ireland. And that's actually when I got back into riding. I took a year off of riding. Not a year. I took 3 years off of riding. So I didn't ride for the first 3 years I was in college. And then I sold my horse at the end of my senior year of high school. And then when I went to Ireland, I found out that there was a horse farm a mile away from where I was living. So one of my friends and I were like, oh, let's go ride. And I ended up dating and ultimately marrying my riding instructor. Terribly cliche, much to my parents' horror. Lots of relatives were flying over to, visit. And not because they wanted to see the Ring of Kerry. And then and then I was staying. So I got a job. I think they gave me the job because I was American. I mean, God, I was like 22 years old. What did I know? But I got a job working for an international tour company. So I ended up organizing escorted tours for a company based in the town where I was living. And they did tours all over the world.
Oh, wow.
Australia, South Africa, all over North America and South America, obviously Europe. We also did large sporting events. I mean, at one point, I had to take a group of 250 soccer fans to Moscow to watch Ireland play in a European Cup qualifier against Russia.
Wow.
That was probably the most and I was like 23 years old. And at the time I thought nothing of it. In retrospect, if my daughter said to me she was doing that, I would be like, absolutely not. But I really learned the ins and outs of travel and the travel industry. And there is nowhere I cannot go by myself and figure it out because of that experience.
Cool.
That's I have awesome. Seen some places.
Right.
So not only did I get to sort of live in Ireland, which was just obviously like an amazing experience for someone in their early 20s to get to live in a foreign country. And I made lifelong friends there. And obviously we spend a lot of time there because my husband's family is still there. My husband's family owns a massive show jumping yard and breeding farm in Ireland. So a lot of the horses we buy and import are from there. So it was an amazing experience, but I also, through the job I had there, developed, a really unique skill set and got to see even more of the world and got paid for it. So it was amazing. I don't know if I would go back to Russia with hundreds of Irish soccer hooligans. That was maybe, especially as the only American, like all of the Irish citizens got funneled off because everyone loves the Irish. Like they needed no special visa. I needed a special visa. So 200 odd people are getting sent off to one line, and then me
shunted to the side.
And I was like, well, folks, if you don't see me, here's my parents' phone number. Send out a search party. But no, it was great. And I wouldn't change a thing.
Well, it's been really fun talking to you about your job experiences and what you're doing now and how you've built the business. We appreciate you coming and speaking with us today.
Well, it's been a pleasure. I love to talk about all these things because they mean a lot to me.
Yeah. And so at the end of each episode, we ask every guest the same 4 questions, and Connor starts with the first.
What is one action that women can take to make a big difference in their lives?
Okay, so here's the thing that fills my metaphorical cup, and it is helping other young women, especially young women. I've had a lot of young women work for me and with me over the years in my barn. And some of them have wanted to stay in the horse industry. And some of them I knew only wanted to be here because they weren't quite sure where they wanted to go next. And I have really enjoyed being a part of their lives. Some of these girls, they're now married and have kids of their own, and I'm still a part of their lives, but helping advise them, helping them find the right career for them, helping make connections for them. I love giving advice. It's probably one of my toxic traits, but I love telling people what I think they should do with their lives. But I have found that so rewarding, and it makes all of the experiences that I've had I'm always encouraging young women to like go take risks and try new things. Like there's nothing like if you're not married yet and you don't have kids, go try and how can I help? Who can I introduce you to? Who can I set you up with? You want to go find a farm in Europe? Let me get you there.
Yeah.
So for me, that makes a lot of the hard, long days when I have a kid call me and say like, I'm having an amazing time. Thank you so much. Like that. I love that. And I didn't know that would be something that I would find so satisfying and rewarding, but I really do.
Cool. And what's the best habit that keeps you motivated personally?
So the only habit that I'm really able to keep, because of how sort of transient my life is that I work out. It's really important to me to work out. Feeling strong and healthy is just an intrinsic motivator, I think, for life. And I'm sure a lot of people would say the same thing, but I go to the gym and I work out every morning with a really cool group of women, none of whom have anything to do with horses, but they're really inspirational. And when I'm traveling, I run. And running, if you're in a city somewhere and you go for a jog and you just see these amazing things and it's a great start to the day, I always start my day with a workout.
Yep.
And that just sets my day up for success.
Yep.
What's your favorite horse movie?
Okay, this was a tough one for me because when I was like 10, I watched the movie Far Lap. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the movie Far Lap,
Oh,
but
yeah.
Very.
It scarred me for life. I cried for like 2 weeks and subsequently refused to watch any movie involving horses.
They're usually tragic, though. Right?
Well, exactly. So I was like, someone did convince me to watch Secretariat. That's a great movie. But I actually, I was thinking about it, and The Horse Whisperer was a great movie. I love anything set in the West. Robert Redford is hard to not appreciate, especially as a cowboy. And I think it's a beautiful story. So I guess I'm going to have to go with that.
All right.
But don't watch for kids. Do not watch Far Lap. Kids at home, don't watch Far Lap.
And who would you recommend to be a future guest on this podcast?
Okay, so when I was just in Europe a few weeks ago, I had the pleasure of traveling to Amsterdam and then into the countryside in the Netherlands. And I met an American woman named Lauren Cardell, who has a sales business based there. She's from California originally and rode as a junior and amateur. And she has such an amazing vision for her farm in the Netherlands, what she wants to do to continue engagement with USHJA from Europe, her interest in working with American riders, particularly young women who are coming out of the sort of junior ranks and the equitation. I've actually brought my 18-year-old daughter with me on this trip, and my 18-year-old daughter was absolutely smitten with her. She's like, "Can I go work for her this summer?" And I was like, "Wait, you're supposed to come home to me." It's just so smart, so much like. And I have to say, having spent a lot of time in Europe, it can be a fairly male-dominated industry, and she just really impressed me. And she's doing things that no one else is thinking about doing. She's doing things in an American way that will work in Europe that are really I think she's really going to do great things. I'm really excited for her. And she's just smart as a tack and incredibly charming and down to earth. And I think her voice should be heard, and her business should definitely get as much publicity as it can.
Cool. Well, thanks again,
Awesome.
Catherine, and hope to see you down the road in person as well.
Yes, I would
some
love
point.
that.
All right,
That would
great.
be great.
Thanks again.
All right. Thank you so
Thanks.
much. It's been a pleasure.
When Catherine was suggested to us to be a guest, and we were told she was really funny, could talk about anything, and I was like, yeah, that sounds great, because we love those types of guests.
Yeah.
And yep, turned out to be true. I really enjoyed speaking with her about everything that she's done. And I think that kind of what we got out of this was that all of that experience kind of led to where she could start this new company and feel really comfortable with her past experience and being able to, draw all of that in to do something new.
Yeah, she definitely seems like an adventurous type of person.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that she was able to take a business and being like a barn owner and transitioning that into having so much flexibility and being able to travel. Because I think so many times as barn owners, people feel like they're kind of stuck there for life and that's all that they're going to do. And she's really been able to leverage her experience to take it beyond that.
Yeah. And I like that she acknowledged that, yes, like she's really lucky to have a very established business. Her husband runs the business with her, so there's always somebody there. It's not like she's leaving the barn behind to travel or go and do something new. So, it's not everybody's situation, but I think people can get a lot out of, what she's done and how she has learned and brought all these different parts of not only the job and the equestrian industry part of it, but what she really enjoys. And I love that she's doing this because she found something that she really enjoys doing, whether it's, magna waving the horses or helping people pick out new outfits and wardrobe. Like those things are so different. And
Yes, absolutely.
She's like put all of these different things into one business. That's kind of a way for people to take advantage of her particular set of skills.
Right. And she's been able to take what she's doing in the already existing business and utilizing that to help her in this new venture.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think she was super smart when she was talking about how she started with the MagnaWave, because she knows she could get capital right away, like cash flow right away from doing that. And I think there's something to be said for that kind of evolving, because a lot of times when people are in a situation like hers, they may be trying to take from their existing business to try and start the next one. And that could it could work or it could be a failure. So the fact that she was able to pinpoint what could help her cash flow that she didn't have to take away from their main business so she could, continue with this new business is really very smart of her.
Yeah. And like you said, something that was already in the realm of what she was doing.
Yeah.
And she was already at the barn and going to the shows and
and that she was able to lay such a strong foundation, because clearly she's a hard worker. And I think that is important to acknowledge, that how much time she has spent in the industry and kind of and building that other business up first, I think was a very important step as well. But then they all just work so cohesively together, which I appreciate, because I often feel like that in my life on all the things that I do. It's all in line. Like it might be a little different, but I always feel like I'm living this lifestyle of being in the equine industry.
Right. Yeah, you're definitely similar to her in that way, in bringing lots of different things in that may sound like they don't always go together, but when you're doing it, they totally do. And you're doing things like, you're doing things for income, and you're doing things to learn. You're doing things to, I don't know, make extra money so that you can pay for these horses.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah. All the
you're
different
doing
things.
things
Yeah.
that you enjoy and have fun
Yep.
at, and you get to meet new people. Like,
Yeah.
I think that it takes courage to do that, because leaving what is very familiar to you and branching out and trying something new isn't easy, especially, you know, when you're grown up and
Yeah.
you've lived your life a certain way for a long time, and to take chances on things can be really hard.
Yeah. I liked how I kind of felt like she's really embraced technology also. The way
Mm-hmm.
she was talking about doing all the things from her phone, and she set it up, and the flow. And I was like, yeah, sometimes I think that those of us in the equine industry don't necessarily embrace that or take the time to set it up to, in the long run, make things easier. So I like that point that she made.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I deal with a lot of people where I'm like, okay, here's a Google Doc or here's a Google Sheet, like she was talking about. And they were like, yeah, I don't know how to do that. I'm like, trust me, it's really simple. Like, I don't think it
Right.
could be much easier to figure out. But
Take 3 minutes, and it
Yep.
you'll figure it out. Yeah.
Just
And
click
I was
through
thinking, yeah, I was thinking to myself, I was like, oh, I loved some of the advice that she was giving and how she is so passionate about helping younger women. And I said, I wish that I had somebody like her to like give me advice when I was younger, because, that might have pushed me to be a little more adventurous, look at things like going to Europe or going to a farm in Australia, or just different things like that I feel like she's probably really helping encourage young women to stretch themselves out. And I feel like I'm at a great place now in my life, but I sometimes wish, somebody like her had said that to me when I was 20 and kind of helped me lay the groundwork to get it done, right? Not just like, hey,
totally.
figure it out yourself, but like, she's like, hey, I could, if you want to go to Europe and you want to ride, and, I can help you, hook you up with a barn. And then that having somebody like that would have made life easier to do it, to actually execute it.
And to, take that leap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
And then, of course, it speaks to my heart whenever somebody's talking about fun.
Yes, whenever.
Yeah. So, she was like, I don't know, I think she put a big emphasis on how fun it was to help people, how much she enjoyed that. And I was like, yes, fun. That is a word that I identify with.
And it's something we
Hashtag
should all probably have more of.
Yeah. Yeah. Hashtag fun haver.
Yep. Look it up. You'll see
Yeah.
Connor's picture.
Right? Oh, yeah. So it was a great conversation. I wish her lots of success with that business. I'm excited to see how it grows and how people are inspired by it.
For sure. And next time I need a new wardrobe, I'm definitely calling her up.
Oh, I know. I was thinking about that because I was like, ooh, like she could style me for work and the barn. That's amazing. Although most of the time I'm wearing like my minus breeches, I wear my riding shirts all the time for work. Don't tell anybody. That's my secret.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same.
Well, it's very funny when I go to conferences, and there are some people in the company I work for that are on the companion animal side, but they do have horses, and I'll wear like a tailored sportsman shirt or an Essex shirt, and they're like, ooh, nice riding shirt you have on. And I'm like, shh, don't tell anybody. I'm like, I'm cheap. I don't want to have 12 wardrobes.
Exactly.
This is
I know. I wear
wear.
Totally. I wear my Ariat sun shirts, like, to go out walking and baseball games and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, it's multi-purpose, right?
Mm-hmm. Totally.
That's what we need in our lives at this point.
Well,
all right. Well,
I've got Busy, traveling, doing lots of
Yes.
all the things.
Yeah, I got to catch a plane. So we're going to wrap up today. And you can find the links to today's guest and the show notes at www.eqbusinesswomen.com. Equestrian B2B is out twice a month on the 1st and the 15th.
You can find out more at eqbusinesswomen.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Find Equestrian B2B wherever you get your podcasts and be sure to follow, subscribe, and leave a review. You can have all 20 plus shows of the Horse Radio Network with you wherever you go with their free app for iPhone and Android. Go to your app store and search Horse Radio Network.
Now go lay your foundation.